Welcome to another episode of T-Sports Texas High School Football. Another week in Texas high school football went down this past weekend. Friday Night Lights at its best. So it's a home game for Duncanville, and obviously since this podcast is going to be focused on Duncanville, I'm going to give you all the in-depth insight on the game. Well, last week South Oak Cliff played North Shore and they defeated North Shore, which was a quite big surprise. So this week, the showdown between South Oak Cliff and Duncanville was highly anticipated because everyone wanted to know what to expect between the South Oak Cliff versus Duncanville game. South Oak Cliff played Duncanville probably every year around the same time in the beginning of the season. So these two teams are quite familiar with each other. They played each other many times in the past. But again, it's a new season, so it's going to be new players and a new situation in terms of gameplay. I've been to many opening games. In fact, every year for the past 7 or so years, I usually attend the Duncanville home games, or just not even the home games, the Duncanville first games. So sometimes it's home, sometimes it's away. But for the past 7 or so years, I've attended Duncanville's opening games, and they're always quite interesting, right? So this year, it was actually quite good for the most part because in the past, I've been to Duncanville games where they made a lot of mistakes, usually on offense and defense. Sometimes it's even the coaches getting the play into the players on time, so delay of games. I've been to opening games where there's a lot of penalties for movement on the line or even illegal formation, or sometimes on defense, unsportsmanlike conduct. So usually the first game of the season, or the opening game for Duncanville, it's always riddled with a lot of penalties, and there's always a lot of issues in terms of just the flow of the game and players being in sync. But funny enough, this opening game wasn't really like that. There weren't that many frustrating penalties. Obviously, it's the first game, so there's going to be penalties here and there, but it wasn't really like frustrating penalties. So that was good. So for the most part, I didn't really have any issues in terms of first game jitters or first game things that was really annoying per se. Just normal opening type game issues, but nothing that was just annoying. And I've been to games in the past where I'm really frustrated, I'm really annoyed, and quite frankly, really worried about how the season is going to go. But for the most part, this opening game wasn't too bad. As far as quarterback play, well, Keelan Russell is no longer with Duncanville, 5-star quarterback. He's now at Alabama. So Duncanville had to replace a huge talent in terms of in the quarterback position, and everyone was really interested to see how that would unfold. The new quarterback, his name is Maximus the Great King Denson. So that's the coolest name you probably ever have for any player or any person I've ever come across. But anyway, from a performance standpoint, he had big shoes to fill, and in the past, last year, he didn't really get that many snaps in terms of gameplay. So this was his first official start against tough competition, South Oak Cliff. So in terms of how he played, I would say he played okay. He didn't play bad. He didn't play like just outstanding. He played okay. There are a few things that I do want to point out that I know for sure he would need to work on. And that's in terms of whenever there's a trouble situation, most inexperienced quarterback or younger quarterbacks, they have a tendency to basically take off running. And one thing that really separated Keelan from other quarterbacks was that he always kept his eyes down the field, and he's always looking for that open receiver, even when he's in a bit of trouble. But if there's nothing that he can go to, then he'll take off running. But he's always a pass first, run second type quarterback. And that's what made him so special and so good. But most other quarterbacks, whenever they get themselves in a bit of trouble, they would just take off running. and lose sight of maybe that big play down the field. And I think this is something that takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of experience. So as the season go on, he may get better in that aspect, or at least I'm hoping that he gets better on that aspect. So a couple overthrows, but it's the first game of the season, so there's a lot to improve in terms of gameplay by the new quarterback. Every year, Duncanville is always aspire to be in state and also win state. This year is no different. I believe that they do have a chance to make it back to state. There's always other teams that's really good. For example, there's North Crowley. There's also Allen. There's other teams, the Sotos. It's still early, and all the teams across the North Texas area, they're trying to find themselves. But I believe that they do have a shot. They have players who are returning, who are experienced, and there's a few pieces of the puzzle that will improve and gain more confidence as the games go on. This first game was pretty tough. It's a tough opponent, a very formidable opponent, and they played well, even though it was quite challenging. So from that standpoint, yeah, I believe they do have a chance to make it back to state. Obviously, when you get in the playoffs, what really matters is when you get to that third round, fourth round, fifth round. That's when the opponents get a lot tougher. That's when the confidence level of your opponents increases, and they play to their highest ability also. So I think Duncanville, as usual, they're able to fight fire with fire when it comes to making it through tough playoff opponents in later rounds. But I do believe that this year there are a lot of other teams also that are playoff and championship type caliber team. So it'll definitely get tougher in the playoffs in terms of the third, fourth, and fifth round. But with the talent that Duncanville has on this team, I believe that they still have the firepower, and they still have the ability to make it to another state championship game. The crowd, the atmosphere, opening home game against South Oak Cliff, the place was packed. Lines were long, concession stands were long, both on the home side and the visitor side. Obviously, South Oak Cliff is not too far from Duncanville. The communities are close to each other, so there's a huge turnout. So the stadium was pretty much full. So the atmosphere was definitely there. It was very hyped game in the beginning. Lots of tension even on the Duncanville side. South Oak Cliff, they already played a game, but this was the first game for Duncanville, so obviously they're releasing a lot of tension in the game. But definitely the atmosphere, the crowd, it was just you could tell it was just a big game. Usually for high school football, especially when it comes to home games, for Duncanville anyway, there's about 3 or 4 really big matchups that bring out the crowd in Duncanville. There's South Oak Cliff, DeSoto, Cedar Hill, and that outside, out-of-state type team, usually a big name team, nationally ranked team that Duncanville will play. It usually brings out a huge crowd. And this is non-playoff game that I'm referring to. Obviously in the playoffs, it's a different story. But in terms of non-playoff games, these are the games that usually draw a big crowd at Duncanville. Standout players, well, I would say for this opening game, there were no real standout players. From a defensive side, collectively, the team played well. Offensively, the team played well. They won the game, so that was good. A few things, obviously, they have to work on. It's just the first game of the season. In my opinion, there's no real standout player. The team played well as a whole, but no real standout player. That's how I look at it. I don't want to really mention, there's certain players obviously to look at, and certain players you could see that they're definitely gonna be players to watch out for. But in terms of this first game, a standout player, I would say no one had this really great standout game for this game against South Oak Cliff. Thanks for joining T Sounds Texas High School Football, and don't forget to like and subscribe.